The tax is one of the responsibility the citizens must perform, and compliance varies. And I mean, the types of taxes you have to pay varies depending on the category you belong to. Pay as you earn, ad valorem tax, the numerous taxes. And that brings to mind that any country in the world that is working is a taxing entity. If you see a thriving economy all over the world, or if you see any country in the world that the government is performing its responsibility, it's because the people are paying their taxes. What the federal government needs to do is to explain further to people that if you are not working, you are not going to pay any tax, because tax is about the money you are making. A portion of it must go to the government. That's what it means. But the a lot of people who have misunderstanding of what tax is all about. The just figures will just be fabricated. You are employed, you are not employed, that money must be paid. No. And that is why the government must try to strengthen and improve the institution that is collecting tax in Nigeria. If you look at the example of Lagos State now, more people are willing to pay tax because of the way taxing system in Lagos is structured. It's been made very simple, and a lot of advocacy has been built around it. But for federal government, even if you are willing to pay tax, the process of paying tax in Nigeria is too cumbersome. Before the kind of job I do, my tax is removed from the source. But before that time, I had worked into FRSC, say about 15 years ago, that I want to be taxed. For 2 weeks, we couldn't resolve it. So I took the patience from us to continue until after about a month before people they're able to ascertain what I'm about to pay. Every Nigerian don't have that kind of patience, and that is the area the government must look into. First, there are section of people in millions that are willing to pay tax, but because of taxing process that is very cumbersome, they get frustrated and they walk away. There should be no fear about payment of tax. It's the money you make. Nobody is going to talk about your capital. That is the area where education is needed. If you are, they are only going to tax your profit. If you run at loss, you will not pay any tax. So this advocacy, we were part of the advocacy for Lagos State government when they want to start the payment of their own tax. And the percentage of all the amount paid as tax when we get involved in the advocacy of tax payment during part of last time, it increased tremendously. So when you don't educate people about government policy, it's bound to be misunderstood. So, and it's a pattern in Nigeria. Once the policy is announced, government assume that the people understand. You don't assume that people have knowledge. If people don't acquire knowledge, take it to their doorstep, confront them with the knowledge that you have so that they will understand. More than half of Nigeria are under the impression that this is one of the ways that government will come and lick them again, and that's not the case. So as market women, traders, artisans that are about to pay tax, and that is why when you see staff paying tax, the staff is paying tax from his salary. Any month the staff is not earning salary, is not going to pay any tax. So any tax, anytime market women don't make profit, you are not going to be paying tax. So it is left to the government to create a platform where the income of everybody will be able to be assessed for them to determine. So if you engage people, you talk to people. The fear they have about anything government policy, anything government program will give them consolation, and many people will be willing to pay tax. The impression people that we have spoken to have is that half of their money will be divided into two. That half will be taken this month, the next month the remaining half will be taken, and they won't have any money again. That's what is going on. But if you make them understand that from the capital they are using to make more business, if you make 500 naira profit, it's from the 500 you are going to pay tax from, not from your capital. So this is important for people to understand. This is important for government to explain all these things to the people. The taxing system in Nigeria has a problem. It has a big challenge, and one of the things the government must do quick enough, because government needs money, and for you to get that money you must conduct the affair in a way that Nigerians must will feel comfortable and not cheated. So education begins differs from what the government is doing. The government must pay the military, the government must pay the police, the government must construct road, the government must regulate the currency, the government must man our borders, the government must fund the parliament, the judiciary. So countless number of things that the government is doing is funding that is required to carry out all those responsibilities. And it's, you don't print currency. There's a financial process at which that money is made, and printing of currency then follows. It's money you realize that will inform you how much you are going to print as a currency. You don't go to bank and start introducing the currency into the system. So, and if you agree with me that this responsibility will not be done free of charge, it means that more government must make money. And one of the most universal standards for government to make money, the first thing is taxing. See, government will create a lot of uh, responsibility, a lot of things that people may willingly buy into that will require them to go and pay tax. For instance, now, if you don't show your tax ID in certain places, you will not enjoy the services. For instance, you want to obtain your international passport, if you want to do so many things that are central to your life, if you want to enjoy certain health facility, medical facility, if your children want to apply for certain things, that's what compares. But you must streamline it in such a way that if you say I should go and pay tax and I spend 1 month, I don't understand how much I'm to pay, that is not the fault of the people, it's the fault of the government. And that is the area the government must quickly address. That I can't be bribing that I want to pay government again. I can't be begging people that I want to pay money again. That's why a lot of people work. So where government will quickly work on is that platform for payment of tax. If you look at the platform that is on TV that is being advertised to pay taxes, go and check it. It takes you 2 weeks to get a reply. And this is about money. When people want to pay money, it should be so seamless that even if you in your dream, if you want to pay tax, you'll be able to pay it. But the moment it looks like the national ID card, the moment it looks like obtaining international passport, that's not too good for collection. It damages the morale. So if you want to be patriotic, and if being patriotic you get punished for it, that's not too good thing. So it's two-way. The government must play its role in ensuring that payment of tax is easy, and the people must also be willing to pay. And payment of tax must be tied around a lot of things in such a way that if you don't pay tax, there are things, half of the things that the government is doing, you may not enjoy it. And in the final analysis, part of the things that encourage people to pay tax in the rest of the world is that when you pay tax for certain number of your years, when you reach the age of 60, you are entitled to retirement benefit, some retirement benefit. That's one of the things that inspire people to pay tax. So those are the things. That's why you see many Nigerians saying that I'm enjoying my time and everything in America, in Germany, in so. If you have worked and from your sweat you have paid tax for 20 years or 30 years, at your old age the government is liable to take care of you. So some of these things are things that the government needs to do quickly. Of course, I agree with you that the economy is bad and so, and that's why the government needs to be very careful. That no, if you don't make money, you won't pay tax. No working, you won't pay tax. We are only talking about the profit that you are making. It's not a fee. It's a payment from the profit you are making. It should be simplified to be able to understand in this manner. The moment you say tax, what comes to mind is the government wants to collect a particular levy from, and it's not a levy. It's just like a tithe in the church. The money you are making, people who don't make money don't pay tithe. It's just like zakat in the Muslim. If you don't earn money, you won't pay zakat. Salary earner don't pay zakat. So it's just the surplus value that from there you take your zakat. That's money that is lying value for about a year or so, that you know that will be with you for a certain period of time. So which is a fair arrangement. So in taxing too, is not the kind of impression that people have. You know, the taxing system in the past is it's been made so difficult that people who don't work are even being chased to come and pay tax. In the past, we hear of our uncles then that tax collector were running after that. Say, "Ah, what happened at your own time? Why would people be running after you when you are not working?" And it is knowledge that bring this to the mind of Nigeria or the people that, oh, so if I'm not working, I'm not supposed to pay. I say, yes, you are not working, you're not supposed to pay tax. So, and that is the kind of message we need to send to the people. Tax must be paid if we want government to work. Every country that is working in the world pay taxes. But the role of the government has been explained. Nigerians, that's the role, that you must be willing to pay tax. As difficult as the nation, tax must be paid. And tax is not taking your money away from you. The tax is when you work. Country who declare loss don't pay tax. I have been overtaxed in the recent time. The pattern of taxes I paid as a company tax is some deductions. It's called, apart from paying tax, they also deduct certain percentage. And when my tax is calculated, so I have excess. As you and I speak today, I have excess in the tax roadmaps that indicate that anytime I want to pay my tax, I can only deduct from it and pay my tax. But aside with them to understand this thing very well. If I don't sit down and devote time for it, I won't understand. It took me time. So that's what Nigerians should endeavor to also do. That make yourself available for it. And for government, it should not be difficult for people to understand what they need to pay. It should be so simple that I must understand, if I make so profit, this is what I'm going to pay. It may fluctuate because your profit will also fluctuate. So if you do this, the government will find it easy. And if the people do this as well, you will be able to hold your government accountable. When you see political class holder embarking on certain projects that is not relevant to the livelihood of Nigeria, that's when you begin to talk, because your tax money. When oil money is squandered, people have little attachment to it. When oil money is divided to 36, taken from one or two states and divided to 36 or some about 8 states, and you see people embarking on certain project that is not useful or an immediate need to the people, you will not talk. But when you are taxed and you see the government embarking on a relevant project, it's natural for you to begin to speak, and that's why you see protests all over the world in certain countries. It's the pain that it took people for them to pay tax. As you are as I speak with you, I know how much I paid as education tax for last year and this year. So I know how much I paid. So when ASU issue comes on board, it comes a very passionate thing to me that I'm paying educational tax. Where's my money? Where has my money gone to? Other Nigerians are also paying educational tax. And that's the feeling, kind of feeling you have. You have that sense of ownership of your government. That's when you know that your government must be responsible to you. I require explanation on how money I spent. And when you see me last decision in the paper at time, the inspiration I get is because of the pain that it took me to pay tax. I make money, I take a certain percentage, I put it in government pocket, and I see government doing things set in the right direction, I become happy. When things are not done well, I get angry and say that why I'm paying taxes. So these are things that inspire the people to ask the right question, and it also gives government the capacity to be able to perform when you pay tax. A nation that does not pay tax to its government is part of the problem of such a nation. Paying fees to government is a different thing. When you have a state that does not run free education, when you take your child to school, you must pay school fees. You can't say because you are paying tax and your child will not pay school fees. It's different. Some of these levies we are talking about may be for numerous responsibility of the government, maybe within a market that is the concession to private sector. So to run that kind of market, you must pay certain fee. That has nothing to do with your tax. For instance, when you pass through toll gates, toll gates that will built through concession, like the Lekki toll gate, that's one that's coming up Lagos Ibadan Express, another part of the country. That concession, that toll gate, the private sector is collecting toll gates with the aim of recuperating his money back and also to maintain the road. So this money that's been collected from the market might be money from private sectors to take care of the market, provide security, electricity, and all other things, and possibly to recuperate their money back. And that's what you get when you go to university these days. Federal university, you see private owners of hostels give it to them. So the fact that the parents has paid his taxes and federal government is giving them almost a free education. If you want to live in private hostel, you must pay. So, and that's why I say trying to find out the title of tax. And no matter the kind of persuasion and appeal, government will not stop collecting tax. And that is the reality that you must accept as a people, that you have to pay tax. And in payment of taxes, it is possible for you to be paid, for tax to be collected, same tax to be collected more than once. It's not the fault of government if you don't talk. It's your duty and responsibility to identify that no, I am not supposed to be paying this kind of tax. For instance, I got a bill of certain amount that I'm supposed to pay. And I told the men, the people that the tax I pay is deducted from the source. The calculation is done by similar government institution like your own. So what yardstick do you use to measure? And we agreed. At the end of that, I did not pay any money again. So nobody is going to make a case for any Nigerian that is paying double tax. In the urge to make more money for Nigeria, officials in charge might come up with certain taxing, and it might be another tax that you are paying through other level of taxing. So if you don't look at it very well and identify the duplication, it's nobody's fault, it's your fault. And that's what makes society work. When you pay attention to your nation, that you have to pay attention to what is happening. Don't read something on social media on the account of that you start judging your nation or the society. It's knowledge. You have to seek for knowledge of how to pay tax, seek for knowledge of such an extent that even if you are under tax, you must be patriotic enough to let the institution know that you are under tax. So this drive It's a new drive. And this is about the first time since 1960 to 1963 we'll be running a proper and organized capitalist economy. And in running a capitalist economy, the recurring decimal, like I used to say, is profit. Make up your mind that control of factors of production is in your hand, in my hand. Can be as rich as you want to be. There's no bar to that. And the economy of the country, as hard as it is, you have to bear it. The government, nobody's going to fend for anybody. It's like capitalism, like the survival, the fittest, survival of the fittest. So we must know what we are entering into as a people. We must understand the kind of economy we run as a nation.